We have today what really you could argue is the most difficult commandment of all that Jesus gave us. Certainly it's in the top 2 or 3, I think, to love our enemies. There are 3 things I want to say about it to help us to do it. First of all, to think about love. There are numerous definitions of love, but what's the difference between the way God loves and the way we love? Often it comes down to this. We look at the people that we're going to love or not love, and we judge whether they're worthy of it, whether they deserve it, whether it's hard or easy or whatever. We're looking at the person, right? If you think about it this way, I was with someone the other day, and we were coming out of a restaurant, and somebody came up bumming, and I had a $5 bill in my pocket, and I gave him a $5 bill. And I don't always do that. Sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't. So you know the conflict, right? Probably you've all, should I, shouldn't I? Maybe some of you have made a decision and do one or the other all the time. I don't know. But I gave it to him. We drove away, and the person with me said, "You just bought him a hit of heroin." And I said, maybe. But if you look at it that way, if you look at it, does the person, how are they going to use this? Do they deserve it? Whatever. We're going to get bound up and never make progress, right? And I said to him, I says, I don't always do that. Sometimes I do. But first of all, that's up to him how he uses it, right? And I think to myself, if I do that, make that judgment, then I'm always judging people. I've got to stop judging people. Because I have no idea how he's going to use that money. You know? Secondly, the problem is, or the end of it, how many gifts does God give me that I use badly? All my life I've been using God's gifts badly sometimes. And God doesn't stop giving gifts, right? So it tells me there's something going on here, and this is what I put it down to. God loves because God is love. That's all God does. God pours out good all the time. That's one of the maxims of Catholic theology, that good diffuses itself. Good is always pouring itself out, you know. And so now when I look at it that way, now I think to myself, because a lot of times we're too close to it. I'm going to love this person. I step back. So here's the one thing I say to myself. Why does Jesus say to love? If you love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, so you can be sons and daughters of the Most High. In other words, so you can be like God. You know, we have these phrases, he's a chip off the old block, you know, or that's my girl. You know, I want God to say that about me. That's my boy, you know. He's a chip off the old block. So I want to be like God. If I look at someone with that in my mind, that's a whole different way of looking at it than what have they done to me or what are they doing to me. I'd rather suffer this and be like God than do whatever and get further away from God, you know. So that's one of the things I tell myself. Now, I don't always do this, right? But I'm telling you this is how I try to approach it, hoping it might help you a little bit. So, do I want to be like God or not? That's one thing I say, right? The other thing, I often think, there's no way. I've had people in my life before that have treated me in such a way that I don't even want to see them. I don't even want to smile at them. And I say, I can't. And then I say to myself, Jesus would not ask us to do something that was impossible. And he certainly wouldn't command us to do something that was impossible, right? Because he would be condemning us by the command. So I say, but I can't do it. It's humanly impossible to love all your enemies all the time. You know, we might squeak out a little bit here and there or some things, right? So how am I supposed to do it? Jesus gives me the grace. God gives me the grace. So we all, at this moment, in this room, have been already given the grace to love our enemies. We have the power in us to do good to those who are hurting us. It's just a matter, are we going to call on that grace and use it? And so this is the other thing that I try to do. Again, I don't do it all the time. But I know when I'm, Jesus, I can't even talk to that person. I don't even want to see that person. Here it comes, here she comes. I can't smile at her, you know. And so I say, Jesus, help me. Sometimes I call on anybody, call on any saint. Sometimes I ask Mary. Sometimes often I ask my guardian angel, please help me just to smile at this person. You know? And when I do that, I find I can do it. It doesn't always feel good still, right? But I can do what Jesus is commanding me to do. And so I just offer you these things. One, think about the way God loves. So forget about looking at the person, because you'll be judging, right? You'll be remembering what they're doing. Think back and say, what kind of person do I want to be? I want to be like Jesus. Right? And so that's where I start. And then I say, okay, I know I must have the grace to do it, because Jesus wouldn't command me to do something that was impossible, right? And so he knows it's impossible for me humanly. He gives me the grace. I know I have the grace. And the more I live a moral life, a good life, the more I participate in the sacraments, the more prayer, et cetera, all those things that we do in our practices, the more grace I'll have. And then third, I call on the grace, right? Jesus, help me to do this. Help me to forgive this person, right? Help me to whatever. And then the final practice, and I do this a lot actually, and I've suggested it to people who have told me it works for them. I pray for that person. If there's a person that I don't like, or is for whatever reason, if there's a person who's hurting me, if there's a person, whatever, I pray for that person specifically. It might be just an Our Father. I remember one time there was someone who was just treating me, and I couldn't understand really why. I happened to have a picture of that person. I kept the picture, and I would look at the picture and pray a Hail Mary every day, looking at that person in the picture. It's amazing what that does. So my last thing, the fourth thing to you, I said three, but four things. Pray for the people who don't like you. Pray for the people who hate you. Pray for the people who are hurting you, right? If we do those four things, I can tell you from my life, when I'm consistent in doing those four things, I'm much more successful at following Jesus' command.